and welcome to another video. I'm doing an extra video this week, this New Year week. So Happy New Year, everyone. Yeah, I'm okay at the moment. It was a better night than expected last night. I did see the New Year. I stayed up until like just close to midnight, so a lot later than my normal 10:40 bedtime. Obviously, normally I wouldn't break my routine like that, but because it was something that was, because I knew it was happening, because it was like, you know, something that I had sort of planned in advance as happening, it was something that I could do because of the nature of the day. You know, New Year is a bit different, and I was expecting there to be loads of fireworks, so I just thought I'm just going to stay awake because there's no point going to bed when fireworks might go off and disturb me anyway. But as it happened, actually, there weren't hardly any fireworks last night. It was a pretty muted affair compared to other previous New Years. Only a few fireworks went off and they were pretty subdued. And yeah, they weren't loud at all. So from that perspective, it's good because I don't like fireworks. I was expecting it to be a barrage like it has been on previous years, particularly as we come to the end of the decade now and we're 2020. I thought there was going to be like a really big kind of like loads of fireworks going off, but there weren't. And there were only a couple of fireworks that went off, you know, as expected around midnight, and they just petered out, and I fell asleep pretty quickly. If anything, actually, I think I was actually, ironically, more, I say relaxed in inverted commas, because of course I'm never completely relaxed, but like more relaxed than maybe normal. Maybe because, which is weird actually, but it might just be because like I was expecting, because it was predictable. And that's a weird thing with me, like if something's predictable, even if it's something that goes against my normal routine, but because it's predictable, because it's like a change that is kind of something that's predictable, and I'm like expecting, it kind of makes my stress kind of go down, which is a funny thing, and I guess it kind of like must be to do with the fact that it's the unpredictability of life, well, the unpredictability of events, that is what I find stressful. Whereas this, something's planned and not exactly what's happening, and it's kind of like timetabled, and it's kind of fixed and certain. It's weird how it is, but even something that I would under normal circumstances find incredibly stressful, because it's kind of like something that's predictable, I kind of feel more relaxed than normal, which is weird. So I ended up actually getting to sleep quicker. Which is weird actually, considering I was going to bed so much later than my normal routine. You know, but I think because, and I was expecting the fireworks, they didn't stress me as much as maybe they would. If they'd gone off and I wasn't expecting them, I would have been really stressed. But because I was expecting them, it didn't stress me as much, and there weren't as many of them as I was expecting anyway. So it's actually better than I was expecting, because I was expecting it to be like really, really loud bangs, which would have been far more stressful, although not as stressful as if I weren't expecting them, because I was expecting them. But yeah, let me know what you think about that, like whether or not, like, if something's expected and predictable, you kind of deal with it a lot better. Because yeah, I don't know, I just thought it's interesting. So yeah, I'm not too bad. Obviously, I'm a little bit tired today, but not too tired. I mean, as I said, I went to bed at 11:45. I fell asleep fairly quickly, and I think I woke up at about 7:30. So I probably got about, I don't know, depending on when I fell asleep, it could have been 7. Well, I think it usually takes me a little while. I didn't fall asleep straight away. If I was lucky, it might have been about 7 hours or just over 7 hours, which isn't too bad. And I did actually sleep through the night, and I think I got a better quality of sleep than actually I often do, which is weird. So yeah. So yeah, I'm a bit tired, but not actually as tired as I was yesterday. And I'm glad it's all over. I am glad it's all over. Although it takes a little while to get back to my normal routine, so it's kind of, yeah, I'm glad it's over, but it's also a little bit stressful at the same time, because then you've got to adapt to getting back to your normal routine. Yeah. Yeah. So so having posted quite a lot about neurodiversity, and it is a lot on my mind recently, it has been a lot on my mind. I wanted to add just something very quickly that I forgot to add in yesterday's video, which is that, and you've been I've read all your comments and I much appreciate them, and someone I think commented that it is mainly what used to be called Asperger's people who previously would have had a diagnosis of Asperger's, who are kind of like at the forefront of the neurodiversity movement, and I think that's really correct. Yeah, it is the case. As people with Asperger's don't have a learning disability and like are more able generally to like articulate things, I think like yeah, it is the case that it is mainly people with Asperger's. But very, very able people with Asperger's, I often call them actually the autistic aristocracy. That's my term for autistics who are very, very able, and by that I mean not just the ability to like speak really well, like, you know, like, but people who not only that, but can also have a lot of influence and maybe have through various factors, you know, some it might just be I've got a lot of support to be able to do it. For others, they're just better at doing it anyway. But they seem to be able to like network better and like get out there more and just kind of use just being able to establish networks and get their voice across. Like have a really big media platform. Like they often speak at events and stuff, and they can then be very dominant. And I know another person said said, you know, that they liked my balance perspective. Thanks for that. But they also asked whether or not my views on who I think would best advocate for autistic needs, like for government and things like that. And obviously, I agree with him. You know, I'm completely against, you know, obviously the anti-vaxxers and all that crap about the MMR vaccine, which obviously does not cause autism. Like that's just, well, anyone who thinks it does, it's just like, okay, I'm not gonna talk to them because, like, you know. Seriously, that's like kind of trying to have an argument with like flat earthers or something. But so I have no truck with people like that, and obviously people who are really extreme in the other perspective and go on about autism being a tragedy. I mean, autism isn't a tragedy. You know, but we do need to be realistic, and autism isn't just one thing. It covers so many different experiences, and the problem with the neurodiversity movement is that while it does have good intentions, and there is a segment, and it is a minority, but they are particularly influential because they do seem to often get into the media, and like what they often kind of go on about autism as having gifts, like, you know, as being really positive, and, you know, like, and things like that. And some of them even say it's not a disability. Chris Packham, although I do admire him and I do think he's generally a good guy, he did once say that he didn't think it was a disability, and I think that's really, really kind of like irresponsible, particularly as someone like Chris Packham is in the public eye and should be using that to be really responsible. And it might, even if he doesn't experience it as a disability for himself, and, you know, good for him, but he's exceptionally lucky, and most autistics, even those with Asperger's, will never get to be like Chris Packham. He just needs to be like understanding that for most actually it is a disability, and particularly in this climate of cups and stuff, it's a really irresponsible thing to say. Like when I was trying once to get involved in some group or something, I won't go into it now, but so I don't really want to go into it. But like the person, when I contacted them, it was like a political group. I think it was for disability. It was some time ago. I didn't actually get involved in the end, but the person actually said. He said it was a group for disabled people, but the guy said not all. That autism isn't always considered a disability, and like when people come out with things like that, you sort of feel really kind of like demoralised, because for me it is a disability, and like you shouldn't have to like then explain to them. And I think like that's a problem, like when this message gets out there from some people in the neurodiversity movement, autism isn't disability, and I think they are a minority. I think most people do think it is a disability, although some might say it more, argue it's more because of social, some more because of medical factors, and people like me argue that it's actually a bit of both. But like people saying it's not, it's just really irresponsible, and like disability shouldn't be seen as a dirty word anyway. It shouldn't, because, you know, disability is part of human experience. The negative is part of human experience. I think ignoring a negative and just focusing on the positive is as damaging as just focusing on the negative. You know, I mean, it's a balanced thing. But I talked in my previous video about my opinion about, you know, my views on autism and positivity, and is autism a positive thing and stuff like that. And I was saying, no, I don't think it is an absolutely positive thing, but it does. But at the same time, it does have features within it, such as special interests and things like that, which can help an autistic person to deal with their situation the best they can, and that's a positive thing. So there are positives. It's just I disagree that there are positives, but I disagree with the argument that it's positive, that autism itself is an absolutely preferable way to be, because I'd rather not be autistic, but since I am autistic, then you have to accept it. So that's kind of my position. And obviously again, you have to seize on any positives there might be, such a strong interest, and try and use them to your advantage. But obviously, you know, I still rather I wasn't autistic. That doesn't mean I'm negative about it either, if that makes sense, okay? I accept I'm autistic, but I still rather I wasn't autistic. And it does upset me when people just kind of whitewash or kind of sanitize autism by just making it out to be like an absolutely positive thing that people should, that is preferable, it's a really good thing to be autistic. In my opinion, no, it's not. That's my perspective. So yes, and like I say, also the other thing about neurodiversity that I just wanted to add briefly, and we'll come back to this in future videos, I've got lots to say on this. The other thing about neurodiversity is that it tends to as I say, because it does mainly focus on people with Asperger's, or people who used to be considered to have Asperger's. Obviously, when I was diagnosed actually with autism spectrum disorder, as they call it. Because I think when I was going for the diagnosis, it's before they got rid of Asperger's from the DSM. I think I was diagnosed. I have a feeling I used both the DSM and ICD when I was getting diagnosed. I'd have to check on my report, so I can't quite remember. It's ages ago now. But yeah, they did diagnose autism spectrum disorder or high functioning autism. They kind of use the terms interchangeably. But clearly, I obviously would have been considered to be Asperger's, bearing in mind that I spoke normally, more or less normally, and I have a high verbal ability sort of thing. But I experience Asperger's as quite a severe thing. For me, it's not at all mild. For me, it's very severe. It's very hindering. I have many problems. Like obviously, I can't work and stuff. So it's not at all mild. It's really quite. I can't really have normal relationships and things like that. But I still obviously am far better off, say, than someone who has like classic autism, who can't speak at all, and who's like 100% dependent on their carers. And neurodiversity often doesn't really seem to include those people. I mean, it doesn't really include people like me either, but it particularly doesn't include people who are so severely disabled that they can't speak or like need 24/7 care. So is autism a positive thing for them? Because there are some people in the neurodiversity movement who argue it is still, and all you have to do is change society and they can be all happy and stuff. But really, would anyone actually want to not be able to speak and to need to be 100% dependent on the carers? Because no matter what society we have, that is just not a good state to be in. I mean, I'm sure they can still be happy and stuff, obviously, but it's still not exactly a preferable state to be in. To be completely not being able to understand the world at all, and to be constantly in a state of constant fight all the time because of like noises or whatever. I mean, that's what I experience anyway, but at least I can like articulate it. If someone can't speak at all, that's going to be even harder for them. And like, I just don't think neurodiversity really talks about that. Like, it's because they should do, because to be logical, that is still neurodiversity, isn't it? Someone with a learning disability is neurodiversity. Someone who's born with a very severe brain, not necessarily autism, but someone who's born with brain. Something really, really, their brain's just like really gone awry or whatever through development. That's neurodiversity. But is that positive? Because just because something's natural and part of natural variation doesn't necessarily mean it's a complete positive. But let me know your thoughts. So it does tend to focus mainly on people who would be considered to have Asperger's. Yes, so there is a kind of elitist element to neurodiversity, which I do think people need to be aware of. Okay, I'm going to move on to another video now. Sorry, because there are going to be so many videos this week, and I don't normally release this many videos. But I do want to show you, as it is New Year week, what I got for Christmas. So I'm going to move over to video number 2 now, to show you that. So moving on to video number 2 now.